Okay, let's talk about AI. It's everywhere, right? It's changing everything. But as it gets smarter and more powerful, you gotta wonder, who's actually in charge here? Who's making the rules for this stuff? Well, that's exactly what we're gonna unpack in this explainer, AI governance.
Just so you know where we're getting our info, everything we're about to cover comes from a really thorough document. This is Chapter 2 of a 7-chapter guide called Ethical AI and AI Security, a comprehensive glossary by Virtualization Options LLC. So let's get into it. For most of us, AI can feel like this big, mysterious black box. You put something in, an answer comes out, but what happened inside? How did it get there? It's that feeling of, I don't know what's going on, that makes this question so incredibly important. Who's really in charge? Who's writing the rulebook for a technology that's literally rewriting our world?
So let's talk about governing the age of AI. The good news? People are on it. There are actually frameworks being built to manage this stuff. And the way we're going to explore them is by starting small with just one AI model, and then zooming out layer by layer all the way to the global stage. It'll make a lot of sense, I promise.
See, before you can even start making rules, you have to know what you're trying to achieve. And really, it all boils down to two things: transparency and accountability. We absolutely need a way to peek inside that black box. We have to understand what an AI can do, what its limits are, and, this is key, who's responsible when it messes up.
All right, let's zoom all the way into that first layer, a single AI model. How do you even know what you're looking at? Well, the best way to think about it is like a nutrition label on your food. Yeah, an AI nutrition label. So in the AI world, they actually have a name for this nutrition label. It's called a model card. It's basically a standardized cheat sheet that tells you all the essential info, what the AI does, how good it is at it, and, super important, what its weaknesses are. So what's actually on this thing? Well, you've got the basics, like what data it was trained on and what it's supposed to be used for. But then you get to the really good stuff. Performance metrics. We're talking hard numbers on accuracy and fairness. And it gets even more specific, showing you if it works better for some groups of people than others. It's all about laying out the potential biases and risks right there in black and white.
And this is why it matters to you, even if you're not a developer. A model card is what tells you, hey, this facial recognition AI, it's actually less accurate for certain groups. Or this AI that's sorting through job applications, here's the proof that it's been tested for bias. It takes these vague, scary ideas about AI risk and makes them totally concrete.
Okay, so model cards are awesome for one AI at a time. But what about a big company that's using hundreds, maybe thousands of different AI models? They need a company-wide playbook, right? But here's the catch. AI moves so fast that a traditional printed rulebook will be out of date before the ink is even dry.
And that's where this idea of adaptive governance comes in. Instead of a rigid, static rulebook that just shatters when something new comes along, you build a living system, one that learns and evolves. I mean, think about it. When generative AI just exploded onto the scene a little while ago, companies with these adaptive systems could react, create new policies, and stay ahead. The ones with the old school rulebooks, they were totally left in the dust.
But look, having flexible rules is only half the battle. It doesn't matter how great your system is if you don't have the right people making the decisions. And that brings us to the next big idea: multi-stakeholder governance. It's a fancy term for a simple concept. You got to get a bunch of different people in the room. So who gets a seat at this table? I mean, of course, you need the developers and the company ethicists. But you also need the users, the customers, and, this is so important, the communities that are going to be affected. Let's take something like a predictive policing AI. You can't just ask the engineers if it works. You have to bring in community leaders, civil rights advocates, and policymakers to ask, what's the real impact here? What are the risks of bias? The idea is that everyone who has a stake in the outcome gets a voice. All right, we've gone from the single model to the organization. Now it's time to zoom out one last time, all the way to the global level. A global AI playbook. I mean, how on earth do you get the entire planet to agree on a single set of rules for something as complex as AI? Well, you might be surprised. I want you to look at this number, 193. What in the world could 193 have to do with global AI rules? Any guesses?
That number, 193, is the number of UNESCO member states that back in 2021 all came together and adopted the very first global framework on AI ethics. We're talking basically the entire world agreeing on a shared playbook. This was a massive deal.
And the core principles in this global playbook are exactly what you'd hope for. Do no harm,
be fair, protect privacy, be transparent, be accountable, all the big ones. But running through all of them like a golden thread is one idea that's maybe the most important of all: human oversight. So let's recap where we are. We've got our nutrition label for the models, we've got adaptive rules for the companies, and we've got a global agreement for the world. But all of it, rests on one single, non-negotiable foundation: keeping humans in control.
It's called the human control principle, and it's pretty much the ultimate safety net. The core idea is simple. No matter how advanced, how smart, how autonomous an AI system gets, a human being must always have meaningful control, especially when we're talking about decisions that impact people's lives, their safety, or their rights.
And I want to read this part right from the source because it's so important. The control must be real, not illusory. Having a human in the loop who just rubber stamps whatever the AI says, that's not good enough. That doesn't count. That's not real control. It's just a formality, and it totally defeats the purpose.
So what does that actually look like? Well, in an autonomous car, it means the passenger can always grab the wheel and override the system. No questions asked. And for something as serious as autonomous weapons, it means a human, not a machine, has to make that final life or death call. Always. So, that's the whole picture, the layers of AI governance. We started with the single AI model and its nutrition label, the model card. Then we zoomed out to the organization with its flexible, adaptive rules and all those different stakeholders. Then we zoomed out again to the whole world with that global playbook. And holding it all up, the foundation for everything is that one key principle: human control ensures ultimate accountability.
So, look, the frameworks are there. The rules exist on paper. But that leaves us with the biggest question of all, doesn't it? Is our society actually ready to enforce them? Because having the rules is one thing, but having the courage and the systems to back them up, well, that's the real test.